Section 45 of The Dream of the Red Chamber, Book 1. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Lin Li. The Dream of the Red Chamber, Book 1, by Cao Xueqin. Translated by Henry Bencroft Joly. Chapter 19, Part 2. After he had walked out of the door, the several waiting maids in his apartments played and laughed with greater zest and with less restraint. Some there were who played at chess, others who threw the dice or had a game of cards, and they covered the whole floor with the shells of melon seeds they were cracking, when Dame Li, his nurse, happened to come in, propping herself on a staff, to pay her respects and to see Pao-yü, and perceiving that Pao-yü was not at home, and that the servant girls were only bent upon romping, she felt intensely disgusted. "Since I've left this place," she therefore exclaimed with a sigh, "and don't often come here, you've become more and more unmannerly, while the other nurse did still less than ever venture to expostulate with you. Pao-yü is like a candlestick 80 feet high, shedding light on others, and throwing none upon himself. All he knows is to look down upon people as being filthy, and yet this is his room, and he allows you to put it topsy-turvy, and to become more and more unmindful of decorum." These servant girls were well aware that Pao-yü was not particular in these respects, and that in the next place Nurse Li, having pleaded old age, resigned her place and gone home, had nowadays no control over them, so that they simply gave their minds to romping and joking, and paid no heed whatever to her. Nurse Li, however, still kept on asking about Pao-yü, how much rice he now ate at one meal, and at what time he went to sleep, to which questions the servant girls replied quite at random, some there being two who observed, "What a dreadful, despicable old thing she is!" "In this covered bowl," she continued to inquire, "is cream, and why not give it to me to eat?" And having concluded these words, she took it up and there and then began eating it. "Be quick, and leave it alone," the servant girl expostulated. "That," he said, "was kept in order to be given to Hsi Jen, and on his return, when he again gets into a huff, you, old lady, must, on your own motion, confess to having eaten it, and not involve us in any way as to have to bear his resentment." Nurse Li, at these words, felt both angry and ashamed. "I can't believe," she forthwith remarked, "that he has become so bad at heart. Not to speak of the milk I've had, I have, in fact, every right to even something more expensive than this, for is it likely that he holds Hsi Jen dearer than myself? It can't forsooth be that he doesn't bear in mind how I've brought him up to be a big man, and how that he has eaten my blood transformed into milk, and grown up to this age, and will be because I'm now having a bowl of milk of his, be angry on that score. I shall, yes, eat it, and we'll see what he'll do. I don't know what you people think of Hsi Jen, but she was a low-bred girl, whom I've with my own hands raised up. And what a fine object indeed was she!" As she spoke, she flew into a temper, and taking the cream she drank the whole of it. "They don't know how to speak properly," another servant girl interposed sarcastically. "And it's no wonder that you, old lady, should get angry. Pao-yü still sends you, venerable dame, presents as proof of his gratitude. And is it possible that he will feel displeased for such a thing like this? You girls shouldn't also pretend to be artful flatterers to cajole me," Nurse Li added. "Do you imagine that I'm not aware of the dismissal the other day of Hsüeh on account of a cup of tea? And as it's clear enough that I've incurred blame, I'll come by and by and receive it." Having said this, she went on in dudgeon, but not a long interval elapsed before Pao-yü returned, and gave orders to go and fetch Hsi Jen. And perceiving Qing Ling reclining on the bed perfectly still, "I presume she's ill," Pao-yü felt constrained to inquire, "or if she isn't ill, she must have lost at cards." "Not so," observed Hsüeh Jen. "She had been a winner, but Dame Li came in quite casually and muddled her so that she lost, and angry at this, she rushed off to sleep." "Don't place yourselves," Pao-yü smiled, "on the same footing as Nurse Li, and if you were to let her alone, everything will be all right." These words were still on his lips when Hsi Jen arrived. After the mutual salutations, Hsi Jen went on to ask of Pao-yü, "Where did you have your repast, and what time did you come back?" and to present likewise, on behalf of her mother and sister, her compliments to all the girls, who were her companions. In a short while, she changed her costume and divested herself of her fineries, and Pao-yü bade them fetch the cream. "Nurse Li has eaten it," the servant girls rejoined, and as Pao-yü was on the point of making some remark, Hsi Jen hastened to interfere, laughing the while. "Is it really this that you had kept for me? Many thanks for the trouble. The other day, when I had some, I found it very toothsome, but after I had partaken of it, I got a pain in the stomach, and was so much upset that it was only after I had brought it all up that I felt all right. So it's as well that she has had it, for, had it been kept here, it would have been wasted all for no use. What I fancy are dry chestnuts, and while you clean a few for me, I'll go and lay the bed." Pao-yü, upon hearing these words, credited them as true, so that he discarded all thought of the cream, and fetched the chestnuts, which he, with his own hands, selected and peeled. Perceiving at the same time that none of the party were present in the room, he put on a smile, and inquired of Hsi Jen, "Who were those persons dressed in red today?" "They're my two cousins on my mother's side," Hsi Jen explained, and hearing this, Pao-yü sang their praise as he heaved a couple of sighs. "What are you sighing for?" Hsi Jen remarked. "I know the secret reasons of your heart. It's I fancy because she isn't fit to wear red." "It isn't that," Pao-yü protested smilingly. "It isn't that. If such a person as that isn't good enough to be dressed in red, who would forsooth presume to wear it? It's because I find her so really lovely. And if we could, after all, manage to get her into our family, how nice it would be then!" Hsi Jen gave a sardonic smile. "That it's my own fate to be a slave doesn't matter. But is it likely that the destiny of even my very relatives could be to become one and all of them bond servants? But you should certainly set your choice upon some really beautiful girl, for she would in that case be good enough to enter your house." "Here you are again with your touchiness!" Pao-yü eagerly exclaimed smiling. "If I said that she should come to our house, does it necessarily imply that she should be a servant? And wouldn't it do were I to mention that she should come as a relative?" "That too couldn't exalt her to be a fit match for you," rejoined Hsi Jen, but Pao-yü, being loth to continue this conversation, simply busied himself with cleaning the chestnuts. "How is it you utter not a word?" Hsi Jen laughed. "I expect it's because I just offended you by my inconsiderate talk. But if by and by you have your purpose fixed on it, just spend a few ounces of silver to purchase them with, and bring them in and have done." "How would you have one make any reply?" Pao-yü smilingly rejoined. "All I did was to extol her charms, for she's really fit to have been born in a deep hall and spacious court as this, and it isn't for such foul things as myself and others to contrariwise spend our days in this place." Though deprived of this good fortune, Hsi Jen explained, "she's nevertheless also petted and indulged and the jewel of my maternal uncle and my aunt. She's now 17 years of age, and everything in the way of trousseau has got ready, and she's to get married next year." Upon hearing the two words "get married," he could not repress himself from again ejaculating, "Hai, hai!" But while he was in an unhappy frame of mind, he once more heard Hsi Jen remark as she heaved a sigh, "Ever since I've come here, we cousins haven't all these years been able to get to live together, and now that I'm about to return home, they, on the other hand, will all be gone." Pao-yü, realising that there lurked in this remark some meaning or other, was suddenly so taken aback that dropping the chestnuts, he inquired, "How is it that you now want to go back?" "I was present today," Hsi Jen explained. "My mother and brother held consultation together, and they bade me be patient for another year, and that next year they'll come up and redeem me out of service." Pao-yü, at these words, felt the more distressed. "Why do they want to redeem you?" he consequently asked. "This is a strange question," Hsi Jen retorted, "for I can't really be treated as if I were the issue born in this homestead of yours. All the members of my family are elsewhere, and there's only myself in this place, so that how could I end my days here? If I don't let you go, it will verily be difficult for you to get away," Pao-yü replied. "There has never been such a principle of action," urged Hsi Jen. "Even in the imperial palace itself, there is a fixed rule, by which possibly every certain number of years, a selection of those who have to go takes place, and every certain number of years a new batch enters, and there is no such practice as that of keeping people forever, not to speak of your own home." Pao-yü realised, after reflection, that she, in point of fact, was right, and he went on to observe, Should the old lady not give you your release, it will be impossible for you to get off." "Why shouldn't she release me?" Hsi Jen questioned. "Am I really so very extraordinary a person as to have perchance made such an impression upon her venerable ladyship and my lady, that they will be positive in not letting me go? They may, in all likelihood, give my family some more ounces of silver to keep me here. That possibly may come about. But in truth, I'm also a person of the most ordinary run, and there are many more superior to me, yea, very many. Ever since my youth up, I've been in her old ladyship's service, first by waiting upon Miss Shih for several years, and recently by being in attendance upon you for another term of years. And now that our people will come to redeem me, I should, as a matter of right, be told to go. My idea is that even the very redemption money won't be accepted, and as for being told that I can't be allowed to go as I'm so diligent in my service to you, that's the thing that can on no account come about. My faithful attendance is an obligation of my duties, and is no exceptional service. And when I'm gone, you'll again have some other faithful attendant, and it isn't likely that when I'm no more here, you'll find it impracticable to obtain one." After Pao-yü had listened to these various arguments, which proved the reasonableness of her going and the unreasonableness of any detention, he felt his heart more than ever a prey to distress. "In spite of all you say," he therefore continued, "the sole desire of my heart is to detain you, and I have no doubt but that the old lady will speak to your mother about it, and if she were to give your mother ample money, she'll, of course, not feel as if she could very well with any decency take you home." "My mother won't naturally have the audacity to be headstrong," Hsi Jen ventured, "not to speak besides of the nice things, which may be told her and the lots of money she may, in addition, be given. But were she even not to be paid any compliments, and not so much as a single cash given her, she won't, if you set your mind upon keeping me here, presume not to comply with your wishes, were it also against my inclination. One thing, however, our family would never rely upon prestige and trust upon honourability to do anything so domineering as this, for this isn't like anything else, which, because you take a fancy to it, 100% profit can be had, and it obtained for you. This action can be well taken if the seller doesn't suffer any loss. But in the present instance, were they to keep me back for no rhyme or reason, it would also be of no benefit to yourself. On the contrary, they would be instrumental in keeping us blood relatives far apart, a thing the like of which I feel positive that Dowager Lady Chia and my lady will never do." After lending an ear to this argument, Pao-yü cogitated within himself for a while. "From what you say," he then observed, "when you say you'll go, it means that you'll go for certain." "Yes, that I'll go for certain," Hsi Jen rejoined. Who would have anticipated, Pao-yü after these words mused in his own heart, that a person like her would have shown such little sense of gratitude and such a lack of respect. "Had I," he then remarked out loud with a sigh, "been aware, at an early date, that your whole wish would have been to go, I wouldn't, in that case, have brought you over. But when you're away, I shall remain alone, a solitary spirit." As he spoke, he lost control over his temper, and getting into bed, he went to sleep. The fact is, that when Hsi Jen had been at home, and she heard her mother and brother express their intention of redeeming her back, she there and then observed that were she even at the point of death, she would not return home. "But in past days," she had argued, "you had no rice to eat, there remained myself, who was still worth several taels, and hadn't I urged you to sell me, wouldn't I have seen both father and mother die of starvation under my very eyes? And you've now had the good fortune of selling me into this place, where I'm fed and clothed just like a mistress, and where I'm not beaten by day, nor abused by night. Besides, though now father be no more, you two have anyhow by putting things straight again, so adjusted the family estate that it has resumed its primitive condition. And were you, in fact, still in straitened circumstances, and you could by redeeming me back, make again some more money, that would be well and good, but the truth is that there's no such need, and what would be the use for you to redeem me at such a time as this? You should temporarily treat me as dead and gone, and shouldn't again recall any idea of redeeming me." Having in consequence indulged in a loud fit of crying, her mother and brother resolved, when they perceived her in this determined frame of mind, that for a fact there was no need for her to come out of service. What is more, they had sold her under contract until death, in the distinct reliance that the Chia family, charitable and generous a family as it was, would, possibly, after no more than a few entreaties, make them a present of her person as well as the purchase money. In the second place, never had they in the Chia mansion ill-used any of those below, there being always plenty of grace and little of imperiousness. Besides, the servant girls, who acted as personal attendants in the apartments of the old as well as of the young, were treated so far unlike the whole body of domestics in the household, that the daughters of even of an ordinary and penniless parentage could not have been so looked up to. And these considerations induced both the mother as well as her son at once dispel the intention and not to redeem her. And when Pao-yü had subsequently paid them an unexpected visit, and the two of them, Pao-yü and Hsüeh, were seen to be also on such terms, the mother and her son obtained a clearer insight into their relations, and still one more burden, which had pressed on their mind, fell to the ground, and as besides this was a contingency, which they had never reckoned upon, they both composed their hearts, and did not again entertain any idea of ransoming her. It must be noticed moreover, that Hsüeh had ever since her youth not been blind to the fact that Pao-yü had an extraordinary temperament, that he was self-willed and perverse, far even in excess of all young lads, and that he had, in addition, a good many peculiarities and many unspeakable defects. And as of late he had placed such reliance in the fond love of his grandmother, that his father and mother even could not exercise any extreme control over him, he had become so much more the remiss, the dissolute, selfish and unconcerned, not taking the least pleasure in what was proper, that she felt convinced, whenever she entertained the idea of tendering him advice, that he would not listen to her. On this day, by a strange coincidence, came about the discussion respecting her ransom, and she designedly made use, in the first instance, of deception with a view to ascertain his feelings, to suppress his temper, and to be able subsequently to extend to him some words of admonition. And when she perceived that Pao-yü had now silently gone to sleep, she knew that his feelings could not brook the idea of her return, and that his temper had already subsided. She had never had, as far as she was concerned, any desire of eating chestnuts, but as she feared lest, on account of the cream, some trouble might arise, which might again lead to the same results when Hsüeh drank the tea, she consequently made use of the pretence that she fancied chestnuts, in order to put off Pao-yü from alluding to the cream and to bring the matter speedily to an end. But telling forthwith the young waiting maids to take the chestnuts away and eat them, she herself came and pushed Pao-yü. But at the sight of Pao-yü with the traces of tears on his face, she at once put on a smiling expression and said, "What's there in this to wound your heart? If you positively do wish to keep me, I shall, of course, not go away." Pao-yü noticed that these words contained some hidden purpose, and readily observed, "Do go on and tell me what else I can do to succeed in keeping you here, for of my own self I find it indeed difficult to say how." "Of our friendliness all along," Hsüeh smilingly rejoined, "there's naturally no need to speak, but if you have this day made up your mind to retain me here, it isn't through this friendship that you'll succeed in doing so. But I'll go on and mention 3 distinct conditions, and, if you really do accede to my wishes, you'll then have shown an earnest desire to keep me here, and I won't go, were even a sword to be laid on my neck." "Do tell me what these conditions are," Pao-yü pressed her with alacrity, as he smiled, "and I'll assent to one and all. My dear sister, my own dear sister! Not to speak of 2 or 3, but even 200 or 300 of them I'm quite ready to accept. All I entreat you is that you and all of you should combine to watch over me and take care of me, until some day when I shall be transformed into flying ashes. But flying ashes are, after all, not opportune, as they have form and substance, and they likewise possess sense. But until I've been metamorphosed into a streak of settled smoke, and when the wind shall have with one puff dispelled me, all of you then will be unable to attend to me, just as much as I myself won't be able to heed you. You will, when that time comes, let me go where I please, as I'll let you speed wherever you choose to go." These words so harassed Hsüeh Pao-yü that she hastened to put her hand over his mouth. "Speak decently," she said. "I was on account of this just about to admonish you, and now here you are uttering all this still more loathsome trash." "I won't utter these words again," Pao-yü eagerly added. "This is the first fault that you must change," Hsüeh Pao-yü replied. "I'll mend," Pao-yü observed, "and if I say anything of the kind again, you can wring my mouth. But what else is there?" "The second thing is this," Hsüeh Pao-yü explained. "Whether you really like to study or whether you only pretend to like to study, is immaterial, but you should, when you are in the presence of master, or in the presence of anyone else, not do and nothing else than find fault with people and make fun of them, but behave just as if you were genuinely fond of study, so that you shouldn't besides provoke your father so much to anger, and that he should before others have also a chance of saying something. In my family," he reflects within himself, "generation after generation has been fond of books, but ever since I've had you, you haven't accomplished my expectations, and not only is it that you don't care about reading books, and this has already filled his heart with anger and vexation, but both before my face and behind my back, you utter all the stuff and nonsense, and give those persons who have, through their knowledge of letters, attained high offices, the nickname of the salaried worms. You also uphold that there is no work exclusive of the book where appears, fathom spotless virtue, and that all other books consist of foolish compilations, which owe their origin to former authors, who, unable themselves to expound the writings of Confucius, readily struck a new line and invented original notions. Now, with words like these, how can one wonder if master loses all patience, and if he does from time to time give you a thrashing? And what do you make other people think of you?" "I won't say these things again," Pao-yü laughingly protested. "These are the reckless and silly absurdities of the time when I was young and had no idea of the height of the heavens and the thickness of the earth. But I'll now no more repeat them. What else is there besides? It isn't right that you should sneer at the bonzes and vilify the Taoist priests, nor mix cosmetics or prepare rouge," Hsüeh continued, "but there's still another thing more important. You shouldn't again indulge the bad habits of licking the cosmetic applied by people on their lips, nor be fond of girls dressed in red." "I'll change in all of this," Pao-yü added by way of rejoinder. "I'll change in all this, and if there's anything more, be quick and tell me." "There's nothing more," Hsüeh observed, "but you must in everything exercise a little more diligence, and not indulge your caprices and allow your wishes to run riot, and you'll be all right. And should you comply to all these things in real earnest, you couldn't carry me out, even in a chair with 8 bearers." "Well, if you do stay in here long enough," Pao-yü remarked with a smile, "there's no fear as to your not having an 8-bearer chair to sit in." Hsüeh gave a sardonic grin. "I don't care much about it," she replied, "and were I even to have such good fortune, I couldn't enjoy such a right. But allowing I could sit in one, there would be no pleasure in it." While these two were chatting, they saw Weiyuan walk in. "It's the 3rd watch of the night," she observed, "and you should go to sleep. Just a few moments back, your grandmother lady Chia and Our Lady sent a nurse to ask about you, and I replied that you were asleep." Pao-yü bade her fetch a watch, and upon looking at the time, she found indeed that the hand was pointing at 10, whereupon rinsing his mouth again and loosening his clothes, he retired to rest, where we will leave him without any further comment.